Well, Facebook falling into bear market territory this month. It's down more than 20% since its last record high on February 1st. Now the company trying to win back trust by making their privacy settings more transparent and user-friendly. Let's bring in Mark Penn, current president of the Stagwell Group and former Microsoft chief strategy officer who helped that technology company through a crisis. Penn also is the author of Microtrends Squared. It's the new small forces driving today's big disruptions. It's great to have you here, Mark.
Thank you.
Let's start with your reaction to this change that we heard from Facebook today, the latest thing that they are going to evaluate their privacy settings. And maybe it looks like they're trying to make amends with consumers. Do you think this latest move by Facebook today helps the overall crisis they're going through?
Well, I think every move obviously helps them, but I don't think any of the moves have really taken root yet. I think that they have a really big concern that their subscribers, and right now people typically spend about a half hour a day on Facebook products, are really concerned about whether or not they're giving up too much privacy. They just had no idea that Facebook was getting as much data as it turns out that that Facebook is getting. I don't think more privacy settings, which emphasize that they are getting all this data, is going to be the thing that makes the difference.
How would you advise Mark Zuckerberg if you were there right now with executives at Facebook? If you were Sheryl Sandberg, for instance, what would you say to him? He has, we believe, agreed now to testify in front of Congress. That was something that's been about face for him, but he's not going to speak to British regulators. They want to talk to him too. So he's being very picky about who he's going to appear with and for when.
Well, first and foremost, he has to get back to his basic values, openness and authenticity. That is how we got 66% of the American public to go on Facebook every day. And I think those values have been lost in this discussion of what happened with Cambridge Analytica.
What about, well, with Cambridge Analytica? I mean, this was basically a whistleblower situation that kind of erupted into the crisis that is now hitting Facebook and, of course, affecting the stock. Do you think that there's more out there?
Well, I think, and I kind of emphasize in Microtrends Squared, that I think the future for technology is great, but they've got to pay more attention to the rules of the road, privacy, ethics. I think you haven't seen even the beginning of the problems with AI. I think driverless cars for now are a fantasy that are not going to be produced for many, many years, and I think that's beginning to sink in. So I think that technology is going to be just an incredible driver of innovation, but they're going to have to really look at a new set of rules of the road that they're going to operate by. I think that's coming down the pike, and I think this is waking, I think, the economy and Washington up to that fact.
Mark, real quick, Tim Cook responded to all of this in an interview, and he was quoted as saying basically, you know what, yes, there does need to be another discussion about privacy. There does need to be another discussion about what is shared from consumers to companies and if it's sold or not. Do you think he's the voice that's going to change the conversation?
Well, I do think Apple has been a leader in some of these things. They did make decisions against being really a database company and instead are about selling the devices and the services with a different business model. So it's easy for him to talk about it. For the database companies, they're going to have more disclosure. Let's face it, nobody knows their texts, their emails are all read, digested, scanned, so that everything that they said in their email from their doctor is part of an advertising campaign.
Right.
People don't know that. They may accept it, but I think the days where it's just snuck under the table are coming to an end.
I think a lot of Americans didn't know, and I think that's why this has really affected Facebook, the stock, the company, et cetera. Mark Penn, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.